Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Peter Drakulic, and in this video tutorial I would like to introduce you to a very useful set of tools that we have in Blender that are specifically designed for working with video editing and compositing. And those tools are oftentimes overlooked, and well, they greatly help into having some insights into our scene. And those tools, you can find them if you go to the image editor, okay, and by default all you see is just the rendering you have. But if you press the T on keyboard, the T shortcut, you are presented with the tools, this set of 4 tools that are very indeed useful for giving us some ratings of our scene. But before getting deeper into those tools there, let me introduce you to this simple scene that I have set up. This thing tries to mimic or to replicate a blue screen scene. So let's assume that this cube here is our actor in front of the blue screen plate here, or surface behind. Okay, and the blue screen surface is nothing more than a piece of fabric, oftentimes, that we just place behind. We're placing behind our actor in such a way that we can later on, if you look through our camera, we can later on isolate, or pulling the matte as we call it, and making a mask based on the difference between the color of the actor itself, which actually is usually a human, most of the times, and that's why it's the color of the skin is a warm color, and the contrast between the colors of the actor itself and the background plate here, the backing plate, which is this here blue screen here. The difference allows us for isolating or making or pulling the matte, as we call it, of the rendering here, or from the scene. Okay, and this is a very simple scene, but because of the fact that the real world materials have irregularities on their surface, and that's the case with this surface here, the blue screen behind, I have added to this object here. We kind of tried to replicate or to mimic this thing here by adding a modifier, wave modifier, and adding some textures here, as you can see over here. Of course, I am exaggerating here now with the ridges and the valleys of this surface here, just for you to see how this works in real life conditions as well. So, okay. So I have a rendering. I have rendered my scene here, and let's switch over to the compositing layout. Okay, and here you can see we have our scene rendered here, as you can see, sort of a blue screen scene. And of course, I have made here 3 versions of our scene, and I have actually added a RGB to black and white node here. So I have turned this into a grayscale image actually, and I have also added another version of our original scene, which uses a fast Gaussian blur here, so that I can show you how some of the tools work in different conditions. So let's go ahead first, and let me tell you a few words about those tools here. And first of all, we need to go to the UV image editor and press the T key, which is a toggle between this set of tools. And let's maximize this window here really quick. And first of all, I want to show you some of the functionality of the interface. First of all, you can hover your mouse over this borderline here and click and move and maximize, and change the width of those windows here. You can also grab those windows from this dashed line at the bottom, so you can change, let's say, their size, so you can better see, all right, each one of them. Of course, you can close the usual, and open, fold and unfold those windows here, all right, as you can see here. All right, and we have actually 4 tools here. And those 4 tools are the histogram, the waveform tool, and the vector scope tool, and the sample line tool. From those 4, you might be more familiar with the histogram tool, which is found also in Photoshop, in GIMP, and another application as well. And this is about a lookup table showing the tonal distribution of the different luminance. Luma is short for luminance in video language, and RGB are red, green, and blue channels, and as well as for the alpha channel across our entire image. The waveform tool has to do with what we call a horizontal and vertical blanking during the retracing the image in the video. It's a very technical, of course, thing. And a vector scope also is a oscilloscope that uses what we call a vector-looking representation of the hue and the intensity of the color of each one of the colors in our scene. So we use this most of the times for calibrating our colors in the scene according to some video standards. All right. And but the simplest one of those, and the one I would like to introduce you today, is the sample line tool. And the sample line tool is very, very simple to use actually, and it's very, very helpful most of the times. And we use it by just going here and clicking on this sample line button here, and when just click somewhere where you want to actually cut a slice of your image, and this tool is going to help us to measure, the values of luminance or luma for short, and RGB channels, as well as alpha value, okay, for these pixels underneath. So what we do with the sample line tool is actually to just draw a straight line, like a slice, kind of a slice. So click and drag and hold down the mouse button, and when you have this part of the image you want to sample, as you can see, as I'm moving the line, take a look at on the right, the histogram there in the sample line tool is constantly changing, reading the values underneath. Okay, so let's say I'm releasing the mouse button somewhere here. So now I have taken the reading for those pixels that are found just underneath this line here, and the length of this line here is actually the length across this lookup table over here, okay, from left to right. So starting from left going to right, and the first point where you clicked is the leftmost point on the histogram, and the last point, the ending point where you release the mouse button, is the rightmost point here in this lookup table. So what kind of data does this histogram here displays here for us? Well, actually you have the luma information for your rendering, first of all, and this is very helpful if you, for example, try to pull the matte using what we call a luma key. All right, so you want to have this kind of information here, of data here in the lookup table, and this is going to be more evident if I switch over to the grayscale version of our rendering. And let's connect this node here both to the viewer and to the output composite. So now, as you can see, my image has become a grayscale image, and you can see better the luminance. What this histogram here shows us, this is what it measures. It's measuring the brightness, if you prefer, of the pixels underneath. And so you can see very, very clearly here that we have those pixels here are brighter than those pixels here in this blue screen part. And this cliff here, sort of cliff in the histogram, this change here represents this transition here from the bright pixels to the dark ones. Alright, so that's about the luminance or luma graphical representation here. Of course, you can have a color information here by clicking on the RGB, but before that, of course, I want to change, to take the colored version of my image, and let's connect this to the both the viewer and the composite output. And as you can see now, we have the red, green, and blue color channels displayed here. You can always, of course, maximize, and close. Let's close this vector scope and waveform, so we have some more room here. And you can see here, and you can always, just left click and scrub your mouse around the area, and you can scale them this histogram up. All right, so you can zoom in certain place, and you can see now that in this part of where the cube is, we have a good amount of green and red colors, more red and less green, and here where these go down, all right, these colors actually give their place into the blue color, which is this part actually of the blue screen backing plate. So we have actually a only blue color here in our image. Okay, and this area here, so this transition here, at the moment, this line here, this is very vertical, signifying that we have actually a very abrupt transition between our actor, if you prefer, and the blue screen behind. But if I go ahead and change and take my alert version of my image, you can see now that the very same reading has changed now, and the change of the colors has become more smooth. All right, signifying that this smooth transition between the red-green colors that are found here in our actor, I mean in this part of the frame, and the blue color that is found in the blue, behind. So another very useful use for the slice tool is for taking a reading. Let's go ahead first and go back to my original normal version of my image. Now we can actually take a reading of the entire image, across the entire image, all right, and so we can see the various irregularities that have to do with the surface of the the ridges and valleys of the surface of the blue screen plate behind, all right, of this blue screen here. Okay, so if I want to resample as another part of my image, all I have to do is to click sample line, and let's say I wanted to sample all of my images across all of my images. So click and release the button now, and I have now a reading for all my of my frame almost. Okay, so let's take a reading for all my plane, my rendering here. All right, and as you can see here, well, we have a certain problem here, an issue here. Somewhere in this part here, we have this valley here in the histogram, and by the way, this signifies that we have a drop in a brightness of the blue color. Okay, so if we take the Luma key now, you can see this as well here. All right, but in the color here, it's much more evident here. So this signifies a drop in brightness, and that's not a good thing for blue screening. Ideally, the blue screen should have a straight line both on the left of our actor, which is this part here, and on the right, to the right of our actor, and those two straight lines should be at exactly the same level, ideally. But in real world, we always will always have this kind of ridges and valleys here, some signifying some change in the luminosity, if you prefer, of the backing plate, blue screen backing plate. Alright, so another very interesting thing here is that you can change the output of this, how it looks like, this histogram here by clicking on this button over here, and you can change into a histogram looking graphical representation, and or you want to keep only the lines. And very important, you have an accuracy slider here, and you can scrub the slider and to take a more accurate measurement of the of the pixels. All right, so to speak, I mean the curves behind are much more accurate now, or you can have a much simpler a much more coarse, if you prefer, reading of the or measurement of the pixels underneath the line. Okay, now you can always go ahead and click the full sample option, where you take a reading for each and every single of the pixels underneath, and of course this is much more slower, and of course if you uncheck this, then you have back this slider, accuracy slider functionality again. Alright, you have this. Alright, so that's in a nutshell the use of the sample line tool, also known as slice tool in some other applications. Okay, and it's very useful for reading and having a look at in the insides of your images. Okay, so and now I have a real world example here. Let's connect this, let's fit this into the viewer, this real world photo, and you can see now a totally different histogram here. And let's go ahead to the luminance, and let's click sample line, and let's click. Remember, the first point I clicked is this one on the left, and the last point I released the mouse button is this one on the right of the histogram here. So here it is about the luminance. You can see, of course, this is true because we have here bright sky, we have here darker trees, so we have this transition here. Okay, and if I go to the RGB curves, you can see how each one of the channels are contributing to the overall image. For example, if I clicked and sampled something here, you can see a darker histogram here, because lower values we have for RGB channels, of course for the luminance as well, and you can see each one of them separately and independently. And also you can see that we have more blue and more green compared to red, which, well, it signifies that here in this part here, prominent color is the blue one instead of the green that somebody would expect. So that would show us that we need to make some color correction, for example, all right, if needed, of course. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is the functionality of the basic functionality of the sample line tool. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, hope you learned something from this. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time with another hopefully interesting topic, hopefully soon. Until then, have fun and good boy.